Good evening. It is 5:15 this Monday, June 26th, and the Carroll City Council is now in session. Would you all please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Okay, we have tonight's agenda in front of us. Roll call, all are present. Before I get to the consent agenda, we have a very important matter of business to take care of tonight, and that is a recognition of retirement for Jerry Dentlinger of the city of Carroll. And I think what I'll do is, Jerry, if you want, just join me up here, please. Is this all right if we kind of do it right here? I hate to have, either way we do it up, it's going to have someone's back to it, but we'll just kind of do it from here.
Okay.
Jerry, on behalf of the city of Carroll, all of the citizens, city staff, and certainly the city council, we can't thank you enough for your dedication and service to the streets department of the city of Carroll. And we wish you nothing but Godspeed and happiness and enjoyment in good health in your retirement. And may you enjoy the first snowstorm from your living room. Is that fair enough?
You bet.
Anything to add?
I would only add that Jerry started working for the city in 1991 and began in the street department. 12 years later, transferred to the wastewater department, and he subsequently got his wastewater treatment operator certification and has worked there for 20 years.
Okay, so finished out at the public work, at the wastewater, so
Yes.
my correction, so perfect.
And he plans on retiring the end of this week. Friday will be his last day.
That's his plan, so make sure he sticks to it, right? Do you have anything you'd like to add at all?
No, I appreciate all the years of being with the city and them putting up with me for 31 and a half years.
Well, you served us well. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to you. You bet. Okay, got the fun part out of the way. We will move to tonight's consent agenda, and I'll read it as follows. We have approval of the minutes of the June 12, 2023 meeting, approval of bills and claims for this cycle. We have 3 licenses and permits to grant a new 5-day Class C retail alcohol permit with outdoor service for the Carroll Depot. We have an outdoor service for Ragbri for Brothers on Main, and then we have a couple of cigarette permits included as well. Also in the agenda, the consent agenda, are some outside agencies funding agreement resolutions. There are several of them in there. This is an action that we're all familiar with that we've taken place since it was brought up in our audit from last year. Do you have anything you want to add in that, or just, okay? And then we have 2 more infill housing incentive applications. And does that bring our total up to, I just want to make note, 14, correct? Okay. So with that, I would seek a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda if there are no questions or discussion.
Yeah, there's one thing on the bills to note, that 2 of the housing incentives have been completed.
Paid out.
That's the first 2, correct?
Correct.
Good.
Yeah, nice to note. Thank you. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda? Tom? Seconded by, was that Misty? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Base? Yes. Shrek? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. We have item number 5, our oral requests and communications from the audience. This is a matter, someone can come up to the council and approach us on any matter that is not on tonight's agenda. Are there any? None here? None online? Okay, so we'll move on then. There are no ordinances to approve tonight. Moving to item 7, under resolutions, we have a custom fire rescue truck. And Dan, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple months ago, the officers and I sat down and put together a apparatus to replace our old rescue number 7. It's quite in-depth just because of all the compartments and what we need to utilize in there. And at the beginning of June, I sent out the finalized truck to 3 truck manufacturers. And then getting back to us, 2 of them submitted bids and the third one did not. And it is my recommendation that we accept the bid from Toynes for the amount of $587, $583, and 42 cents. If anyone has any questions, I'd answer those.
Dan, this is a truck that goes out on every call, right?
Every call.
Yeah,
Yep.
goes out on, it's your, yeah,
And the one we currently have is a 2003, which is, the compartments and stuff are really starting to show its wear.
yeah, the big box truck.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Plans not to trade it, but to sell it through,
Eventually,
Gov deals
after we
or
get the
something?
new one in service, the plan would be to sell that and then put the proceeds back in. And the way the timeframes are for trucks, this current unit would be 775 days out before we would get possession of it. And after another month, they're telling me it's gonna be over 800 days. So my plan is maybe in the near future to maybe put together a replacement tanker, which our last tanker is a 1986 model. So, which kind of in the future, if we plan again next year for that, it'd be another 3 years, 2 years out. So I've been planning accordingly, and I was hopefully maybe planning to stash that funding and then use that for the next purchase of the next truck, so.
okay. And your memo states that they require about 40% of it down up front and then the balance.
Within the
When
next year, the chassis will show up and they'll want. to
Okay,
be
of
paid for
chassis
it.
delivery,
Just
and
for
that's
the
still a
chassis
ways
part.
off too.
Yeah,
Okay, so nothing right now then?
nothing right now.
Okay, I'm
No,
with you.
It'll be 24, 25 years when we'll,
Okay.
would have to come up with that part of it, and Laura probably could help with that part of it, but yeah. And then the remainder in the 25, 26 year when the truck shows up.
Are we still thinking, I looked in our preliminary budget book, and we have it down, Geo Bond Council vote, 600,000 in fiscal year 26. Are you still thinking that amount and how do you plan on funding it,
I
Dan?
think Laura can,
Yeah,
So it is in the fiscal 26 budget timing, but based upon this, we may have to look at
Shift it.
issuing it maybe at the end of 25.
okay,
We'll work with our financial planners, advisors on the timing and how to structure that debt. The first payment that we'll pay here in about a year or so, we can probably cash flow that until
okay,
we would get closer to having to make that final payment, then we'd probably for sure wanna have the debt issued. for that
okay,
final
so we
payment.
are still thinking Geo,
Mhm,
like
yeah.
we did the previous one. Okay,
Yeah,
thanks,
yes.
Laura. Okay, I knew you'd have a plan. Thanks.
What other questions for Dan? Are there any? Well, the recommendation would be council consideration and approval of the purchase of a 2025 custom fire truck from Toyne Breda at their bid price of $583.42. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Carolyn
Second?
and Kyle, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Strack? Yes. Space? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Cornero?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Perfect, thank you. Item number 8 under reports, and Chad, Carroll Rec Center project change order number 5.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. We had submitted to us change order number 5. Most of this has to do with different electrical works, duct work, utility moving, and then some lighting controls and the check-in desk modifications. I've laid it all out to you in the memo. Total amount for change order number 5 is $29,176, excuse me, dollars. That would leave a remaining balance of $96,542 if accepted tonight. There are no additional work dates included with change order number 5, and the substantial completion date will remain as October 20th of 2023. So my recommendation to the council would be to approve the change order number 5 in the amount of $29,176 for the Carroll Rec Center improvement project. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have none. Does council have any questions for
Yeah.
Chad?
Are we looking at it when I go in there? It looks like the deconstruction is pretty well done.
Correct, on the men's changing rooms or
Okay.
locker rooms. Everything is torn out, the concrete floor is still in, they'll be busting that out here pretty soon. Then they plan on turning around really quick and starting all the sewer and water work.
That's usually when the surprises come up is on deconstruction.
A lot of the ones that we ran into on the women's side, we had also addressed on the men's. So unless there's some brand new things that we didn't happen to come across on the women's or family changing room side, then they would occur.
Okay.
Anyone else? Hearing none, you've heard the recommendation for the council to consider approval, change order number 5 in the amount of $29,176. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's see, Laverne and then JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Bauer?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Seaman?
Yes.
Dirk?
Yes.
Schreck? Yes. Ronier?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you again. Item 8B, under reports, we have stormwater improvements and a drainage evaluation. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. Last November, a drainage evaluation was initiated on watershed in the southwest part of the city. It pretty much included Rolling Hills addition, the Rolling Hills South addition, and Southdale addition. That evaluation was current, to evaluate the current storm sewer system and come up with proposed alternatives to improve that system. The report is complete, the evaluation is complete and presented to you. It does include 2 alternative projects. They both accomplish the same as far as stormwater improvements. Their costs vary by a little bit. The second one is about $350,000 more than the first. But the second, what's called PR number 2, is the recommended alternative because of its a little better constructability, and it does provide for handling flows in excess of the design criteria for the city. The current budget includes, the current budget and proposed next year's budget includes $1,750,000 for funding this project. That's a little short of the estimated cost at this time. If the whole project is desired to be constructed, it would take that funding plus any other available funding or debt financing of some of the balance. If it's a desire to cash fund this project, we have broken it into 2 phases. The phase 1 could be constructed first, and that could be cash funded by the stormwater utility fund, excuse me. But in order to build the entire project in 2 phases, the cost goes up about $350,000 almost is estimated. And that's due to mobilizations and everything associated with trying to do 2 contracts as opposed to a single contract. So unless there are any questions, we'd recommend that you accept the report and also approve proceeding with the preparation of a design services agreement for design of the project number 2. And then also discuss and indicate your preferred method of funding or financing.
Very good. So 3 issues at hand here first. First off, is there any questions for Randy on any of this? Carolyn, I'll just look your way only because you had provided us with
Oh,
more
no,
information,
yeah,
the mosquito pond down there, so.
I just thought a visual versus all the schematics might help, because I did approach Randy about all the runoff. I was approached by people who live on the south end toward Southgate, and how a deluge of water, when there's a heavy rain, it just washes down Southgate. And Southdale feeds into Southgate. So they had me come down and I took these photos because this end of the park, the south end, they're contiguous to Rolling Hills Park. They live on the park on South Main. And so because of that runoff, it really pools. If you have a heavy rain, the rest of the park to the north, the homes on the park aren't impacted as much as the ones closer to Southdale because of the runoff. So I had saved these photos, and you can see the one house, she runs a daycare there, and some of this that pools from the runoff, you can see that the photo isn't great, but you can see that some of that water then kind of seeps into her backyard. And she does run a daycare. She was concerned about, whether we could do something to handle all the runoff. And then we had a drought, and I didn't hear from them again. So anyway, that's what the pictures are about, because people were concerned with the runoff in this particular portion of South Main on Rolling Hills Park.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Randy where we address these 3 issues? The first one's pretty easy. I would need a motion to accept the drainage evaluation. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Kyle,
Second?
seconded by Carolyn to accept the drainage evaluation. Any further question or any further discussion? Sorry. Roll call, please.
Seaman?
Yes.
Strack? Bauer?
Yes.
Base? Yes. Dirks?
Yes.
Bornero?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Okay. Next item would be approval of proceeding with the preparation of a professional service agreement for the design work for project. The second one, PR2, is the one that's been recommended by Randy. There'd be a motion to that effect?
Can I just ask a question?
Of course,
before we
yeah.
do that? I'm just curious, I know we've talked about this a couple times in the past years that I've been here, but do we have other locations in town that are doing this same sort of thing that we know of, that have been brought to our attention? And I just want to make sure that we aren't just picking one spot,
There are a couple of locations in town, actually no other low point locations, and that's what precipitated this one as rising to the top priority, I guess, for the money, because we have a low point up on Southdale Drive. There are a few other locations in town where some storm sewer improvement is needed, and they'll would intend to be addressed as funding is available, or if they become a high priority to finance improvements.
So would you say that this, you can't necessarily point all fingers, but is some of this due to just the way the construction was done on the upper side of why everything is?
This one, the design of the storm sewer originally appears to not serve the entire developed watershed. There's been a lot of that watershed developed when initially Rolling Hills addition was developed. That's when the storm sewer was built. Since that time, years ago, Southdale was added, and the homes in that, more runoff, more impervious area, more runoff. And then more recently, Rolling Hills South with its home building and more runoff. So it all contributed to that low point that was, the storm sewer was a little undersized at that point. and then on down Southgate Road through the Rolling Hills addition.
And just so I'm clear, I mean, when somebody is creating that space for construction, we work with them on storm sewer and, but we don't always know when we're doing it that the next step is gonna be.
I guess, the portion on Southgate Road, of course, that was built in the probably, late 60s, when Rolling Hills Addition was built. Different criteria for drainage, different, I guess, acceptance of stormwater drainage. Southdale Addition was platted in 1978, probably, and there wasn't a lot that could be done at that point, other than rebuilding the Southgate Road, which we're proposing in this project. So it kind of started a long time ago, and we added in the watershed to it, and, a lot of housing in that watershed. It's pretty much completely developed, so just added to the runoff.
And in a rather hilly environment too, so. I know that you're the historian here, but a couple of other areas that the city's addressed in modern era, I know Third Street's been addressed and it's a huge improvement there.
Yeah.
And then I know that over in our old neighborhood, around 15th and Adams, that was addressed. And that was a huge improvement there, but I'm not aware of any others that are,
This may be a
Is there
better
another one?
question. Was there not, did we not have somebody in the 100, 200 block in North Main come to the council at one point about water draining in their backyard when it would rain? Or pooling in their backyards in the 100, 200 block of Main? Do you remember that?
I don't recall that, JJ, on North Main.
North Main?
North
So
Main.
down by like Southside Park, like right across the street from Southside Park.
I don't recall that.
You-
That would have been, Brady
Brady's.
Manberg's house. But
Yeah.
I think he went through and he had a dirt tiled the whole yard out and kind of fixed
Oh.
it, a lot of it himself. I think that was a backyard alley
Oh,
drainage issue.
now I remember, because I did walk that. It was a drainage issue that had to do with his alley. And it's the water would come off, the alley sits up higher than his backyard. And so I went up with him, yeah, now, thanks, Dan,
And
yeah.
they did, he
Yes.
retiled his whole backyard and added dirt and. he
Right,
changed
right.
it.
He brought somebody over, I forget who it was, from out of town, I think Scranton, and did these.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Warren Keith, the plumber. So, yeah, and then the tiling helped,
that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
yeah.
So the matter at hand then is still to approve the PR2 project. Is there a motion to that?
May I ask one
Of course,
quick
yeah, of
question?
course.
Yeah, Randy, did you say if we mobilize twice, how much did you say that would add to
350.
the, was it 350? Okay,
Yeah, it was nearly 350. The total estimate of the two phases of Project 2 is about 342,000, more than the estimate for the total of Project 2. So that's, a lot of it's due to a remobilization if you let two contracts. And I guess it's just a matter of if, and the financing funding discussion may flesh that out. We believe that the recommendation is for the design work for the entire project. Whether it's phased or not, that's still your decision.
okay.
Yeah, so we'll get to that with the next one, but yeah, the clarification is,
Okay,
they, to do it all at once is certainly gonna be less costly.
right,
Makes
right.
sense, but,
Well, and then I was thinking about when we let the bid and including the entire 1 and 2. So, I don't know, how are you, if they're designing it all, then what were you thinking about the bid letting, Randy?
It's entirely up to you
Okay.
if you, and a lot of it hinges on the financing.
Right.
You know, the original intent in the 5-year program was to cash finance this project. And costs are higher than we have cash for in the stormwater utility fund. Now, if there are other funds that you'd want to cash flow this project with, that's fine, or debt, either is fine. Then we would recommend letting one contract. If the idea is, no, we just want to cash flow it out of stormwater utility funds, then about all we can afford is the phase 1 of project 2.
Okay,
That's why it was broken into phases, to
Right,
give you the
right.
option to cash fund it and just do half the project now, and whenever cash is available, do the other half.
right, and this is an essential corporate purpose, so it would take a council vote if we issued debt, correct? Okay,
I believe it is, yes.
okay.
So the cost of what we're talking about here, is that the $2,000 figure up above project PR1, PR2?
Yes, the 2,552,000,
Yeah.
that would be letting a single contract. That's the estimate of cost.
So on this recommendation, you're just talking about the design cost, right?
Yes.
And you don't have that listed here, what that is?
No, that actually in the evaluation report itself, the total design cost that was estimated in those estimates was about $346,000 for design of the entire project. And that would be brought back to you in the form of a professional services agreement.
So once again, we're still, if the council's amenable to having discussion about financing, item 3 along with item 2, I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm absolutely okay with that. But essentially what's gonna boil down to is, the recommendation is to do PR2. I think that's kind of a given. And then, how do we wanna pay for it? And then, in a perfect world, we just have all the cash at the 2.5 and have it done with, but we don't. So then we just have to decide about whether or not, it would be more agreeable to pay as we go, even though it's gonna cost more money. Or the question that I asked right before the council, did you get a text back from the guy?
I don't have it right yet.
I think it might behoove us to involve, Laura, and maybe some bond counsel too. I'm not saying we have to put it off tonight, but I think to be able to do an accurate pro forma for the council to consider is, it's obviously gonna be less expensive to do all at once, so that's the preferred way. But I mean, would it behoove us to find out, we're gonna need to borrow roughly, what, 350, no, more than, 1.3, wouldn't it, we figure that?
1.1, I think.
Yeah, 1.1 is what it was. So we're gonna have to borrow 1.1, and for whatever, a compatible term, I suppose we're figuring, what, 6% these days? Probably. But then if we want to see what those charges would be, and if for some reason those charges would be more than $350,000, you see, then we'd have the option to
Yep.
break it up.
Right,
But do we feel comfortable in making a decision on item 3 tonight? And if so, give Laura and Randy some direction on that. And if not, we could bring it back. But we could at least, I think we could approve 2, that's what we're gonna go with. It's just how we're gonna pay for it. Does that make sense to everybody else?
well, and I think it makes sense too. I think things would work better if we had the same contractor versus, okay, the first phase, we get one bid from somebody and then they don't know what's
Oh, yeah.
going on. And then, I just, to me,
Right.
it could create chaos.
Absolutely.
So we gotta do this anyway, we gotta do it either in 1 section or 2 sections. So I guess I'm thinking on item number 2 is go ahead and pay for that whole thing now and get the engineering done all at one time, and then decide on the construction
Yeah,
phase.
Yeah. Would everybody be in agreement with that?
Instead of breaking that engineering
Definitely.
fee in half,
Right,
let's just do that now.
right.
Yeah.
So I would need a motion to approve proceeding with the preparation of the PSA for design and prep work for PR2. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Laverne and then JJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Base, yes. Seaman,
Yes.
Warnero,
Yes.
Shrek. Yes. Bauer,
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Should we investigate item 3 a little bit more? You don't absolutely have to have a decision on that tonight anyway, right?
Right.
So that would be, my suggestion is to just maybe investigate what those costs might be. And I know we're moving in a dynamic market too, but, at least we could figure, I don't know what would be best to, like a 10-year or a 15-year. We certainly wouldn't need to go out 20 or 30 or anything like that, but, in the amount. And then whether or not we issue GO for it or revenue bonds or, you want to add anything here? I'm kind of stealing your wheelhouse here, but
Yeah,
you're the one with the degree. I didn't pass third grade, so.
yeah, I would recommend looking into whether a GO bond backed by the revenue or by the utility or a revenue bond backed by the utility. Either way, we're using a utility fund to pay for that bond rather than using debt service for it. So I think that would probably be our wisest choice now, but we could cash flow it and then pay it back, do an internal loan of some sort also. But I think looking into those, finding out what the rates are and what would behoove us the best, whether it be a 10-year note, a 15-year note, or what the best options are out there. We don't know because we haven't talked to our financial services.
Suzanne, that's who I was trying to think.
Do that, yeah.
Gerlach.
Gerlach, yeah, thank you. Do you mind doing a little legwork for us on
Yeah,
that?
we'll talk in the office of the details that we need to get to her and she can give us some information.
Okay, enough for now? All good?
Yeah. yeah.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, we are moving on. Item under reports 8C, housing discussion. Aaron, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, the first thing is request to have JEO design and plat, or more or less give us a scope of work agreement to work on the golf course sites for housing. In order to get the engineering and understand the cost, we have to have a scope of work agreement with them, so that's what the next step is.
And is there a recommendation? Yeah, there is.
For that is to have JEO go through the design work for the sewer and for the platting of that property up there off of
Okay.
Northwest Street.
Okay, so for now, we're just talking about the golf course site and the JEO design. The question I'd have for you all is, the memo says for design work and recommendations for any, I'm sorry, this is the Region 12, but design work to plot it and to give us some sewer and utility direction. Is that correct? Hello? Yeah. The question is, can we just did you guys decide, are you recommending on 8 or 9 lots?
9.
So 10, so the direction is we're going with 9. And what do they come across then, about 130 plus?
130 by 200 on the first 4, and 120 by 150 on the next 5.
Okay, so can we direct JEO to do just that? Because if we're gonna ask JEO to figure out a bunch of design work on the utilities, that's gonna be quite a lot of spread in terms of the scope of the project, correct?
Yes.
That's gonna take on quite a little bit more expense.
Yes.
Whereas if we just plat it out, it's gonna be minimal at best, right? I'm gonna take a surveyor out there and mark off 9 lots and put in some pins, and that'd be pretty minimal, wouldn't it? I'm not asking, I'm not holding you to a number, but
It
far
would-
less,
Far less than design work.
Okay.
It's plating work, okay? And you would be required to have a preliminary plat and a final plat. So in a preliminary plat, there is some generalized utilities work to make sure that the utilities will work, and that's required of all developers by your code.
okay.
So that, I would suggest you follow your code on that. Certainly adding in the detailed design work of the public facility, public infrastructure, would cost more in design fees than those plating fees.
And so I'm correct, that could be broken down into two separate projects then, right? Two different design works.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, my question, primarily that you guys have done all the legwork on it, but all of the council, is in my mind, everybody has said this is a good idea. I mean, I've heard all positives about it. So I don't think there's a whole lot of reservation that we, need to take the next step. But I guess until we know that we've got a developer or some enough in those lots to be sold, and we at least have some kind of working knowledge that we've been told roughly $780,000 to lay all that in, that would help establish us a price point with potential buyers. And then once we have enough hand raisers, then could we not take the next step, which seems logical to me, and say, all right, here's now what's before us, it's gonna cost us this much to do that.
That's actually how we presented it at the last council meeting, similar to that. To make sure that,
Okay.
that's what I was saying, you were worried about if this was gonna sell, and let's get it out there and let the public see what we're doing, as far as the lot sizes, and then listen and see exactly how much interest there is.
Okay. I was referring to the memo, which didn't
But-
really break that out.
Right, but we still need to have a cost for the design. All we're asking at this point is cost of design for sewer work and cost of design for plating, not actual doing the work.
Right, and
Yeah.
I get that.
Okay.
So again, it's a council's decision on how to move forward, and I respect that.
Be nice to
but
know
that
what
was-
those two costs were.
Well, I think that's the request tonight, is for the go-ahead to go ahead and develop those costs.
Yeah, it'd be nice to know what Mark is asking, what that cost would be, and then to do it all. But
We can do that.
don't know that.
I mean, we don't know it tonight, but we can get that. Sure.
So let's get it and bring it back on next council, look at it,
Okay.
I guess.
Yes, and then we know.
I mean, basically, you're looking for kind of a detailed for sale picture, so people know what they're gonna buy.
Yeah, we're not-
Before we jump in and spend the giant amount and nobody's interested.
We're not spending any dollars at this point.
Right.
We're just waiting to find out what it's gonna cost us to have the design work done, and which will then give us a cost
How much?
for what it's gonna cost to develop it.
Right.
Well, and here's my perspective, I get what Mark is saying, is if we jump in and say we're doing the design work on everything mentioned in the memo, I think, because I've heard good things from people, that they're excited about this, and I think it shows the public that we are serious about taking this step, and that we're not being tepid, that we're committing to gathering information. So I'm thinking it would be good to get all of the design work done. Now, we can still wait and see, as Mark said, if there's an interest. But I think we need to send a message to the public that this is something we're taking seriously.
I think we're taking it seriously. What bothers me is we just don't have a dollar figure on our staff recommendation. And usually when we, say yes or no on some project like that, there's always a dollar figure, and we don't have that here.
For the design work?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I see
So,
what you're saying.
that would be just a 2-week delay, and we get those numbers, so we're not guessing what we're voting on tonight. We will know in 2 weeks what the design work cost would be.
Yes. Well, I think that
Yeah,
was
if they can have it.
That was the intent in any case, not to approve design work tonight, approval to go ahead and get an agreement worked up to bring back to you. And we can, if that's your desire, we'd do that and break out the plating versus the facility design.
Very good.
And, that's not a problem. They would be broken out under most any case.
Okay.
So, okay, Randy, to make sure I'm not misunderstanding, agreement with JEO for design work, so then it comes to us, they're telling us what their design would cost, but are you talking about just the design work for the plat, or for also the lift station, et cetera?
Well, I think
But
you'd probably want both.
I'm hearing different,
I'm hearing that you probably want both. The
Do-
JEO, and this would be the JEO fees for plating and the JEO fees for designing the public infrastructure.
There you go.
So two,
It's not a cost of the public infrastructure, it's the fees to design public infrastructure. And if you would see your way to go through with that, then you would have a better idea of the construction cost that would impact your lot price,
sure,
you know.
okay.
So we're in favor of that.
The-
Make a motion
yeah.
to do that.
You're looking at me like we? No, you. You.
Can I read?
Of course.
So the request is to allow JEO to come up with a scope of work for design, is what our request is to move forward today.
No.
No.
We need them to come back with a design work.
Two different
Two
costs,
different,
so-
two
Yeah,
different designs.
but you're correct. Design for
Yeah.
The
plating
cost to
and
design.
design
Yes.
for sewer work. That,
Yeah, two
Correct.
different numbers that we need.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so it will be for both. Okay,
Yes.
I may have misunderstood
And-
what Mark was
And
For
saying.
both
design
meaning this one
Yes.
and this one, not both.
Right.
Yes, separated,
Right.
yes, okay, now I
Okay.
get it, okay.
Good?
I'm good.
And I'm just glad we talked things through because, yeah. Okay, so that is golf course. Next one is the Region 12 proposal. And Aaron, you're still on.
Yep. We've had a discussion with Region 12 about doing housing very similar to how they've worked with in Manning and in Coon Rapids. The only difference is the city does not have lots. So this changes the proposal a little bit to where we would be giving them cash over the next couple of years for developing or building 10 houses that are more of a workforce housing focus than a higher end house. But the agreement would be that if they can't get those 10 houses built, whether they can't buy lots or whether they can't do anything like that, then we would get that money back. And we're essentially not out anything at that point. Not necessarily asking to approve the agreement in general, but giving us feedback and direction to move forward.
Well, I think we need all kinds of housing. Period, end of story, on all levels. I mean, if this is one way to do it, and like you said, if it doesn't work, then the money comes back to us, then what are we out? Other than 10 new houses that somebody can afford at all income levels. So,
How many infill lots do we have available today?
We don't know that. And I think that
I-
is critical information.
We went out and looked at 30-some lots. Now, a lot of discussion that some of those lots, or if a lot of those lots aren't available. There's somebody's backyard or there's somebody's side yard, something like that. But there are lots out there that I'd quite honestly become nuisance properties that we send letters to get mowed or anything like that, that could be possibilities for them to purchase in the future to build on.
And those are vacant, right?
Yeah, vacant lots, yes.
So if I heard you right, we might not have a lot available currently for them to build on, but potentially due to, say, like a nuisance abatement or something like that.
That's one way to go about it, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
My only question is, unless I'm just not seeing it, we're giving them money every year, but I'm not certain what we're getting back for it in that year. I mean,
Well, it's hard to, we're not necessarily specifying in that year what they're going to do, because they go back and they apply for tax credits and set things up to make it as cost neutral for them. That they don't make money on these houses, but they try and make it cost neutral. So obviously they're applying for state grants and stuff like that. So we're saying 10 houses over the next number of years. We're not saying thou shalt build 3 or 4 this year is basically what we're saying. And if we don't get 10 houses in the next 3 years or by December of 26, then we get our money back.
yeah, I guess I'm just saying, does us giving them that money help them to apply for those tax credits and whatnot? Is that
Yes,
why
the,
they did
the,
it?
the agreement with the money helps them get those credits.
But we're already doing an incentive for 20,000, right, for each new lot? Right?
With,
That's just.
We had 6 lots.
That's not with Region 12.
Yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, that's
No, I mean,
region,
that's just the city.
yeah, that's
So-
retail building, I guess I would say.
If you break it down, which I think this agreement did, right, at the bottom?
Can, yeah, it's
It's
$30,000.
for 10 new homes.
Correct.
But we're already offering 20. So would it be wiser to keep the 300,000 and continue our incentive program? Because, I mean, if you're saying the houses are, what, 150 is the minimum value, right?
Yeah, their normal houses are, the houses that they've put together at this point sold are around 200 is what their price point normally is.
So we're not gonna really see any tax return on that for how many years?
Depending on how many years it takes to build, it takes a couple of years to get that return. So if they build them all in the third year, that would mean 5 years before we see any money returned.
210,000 if you use our tax rate, for a $210,000 house with a $30,000 incentive takes us 27 years. Currently, our current one is 328, and we give 20,000. That takes us 14 years today. And I extrapolate that out to roughly a $210,000 house, seems to be the target. And you go $30,000 against that to recoup what your investment was in terms of taxes, is 27 years. To JJ's point, we've all agreed the housing incentive is working. Okay, or at least we believe that it is. You know, I don't know why we would incentivize $30,000 when we know 20,000 is working. And if you want to up it to 30, and target, then, I think it needs to be open to anybody and everybody. Now, I like what the COG does and how they do things and so on. And I know that there's an impetus towards workforce housing, I think is the term that's applied. But, current builders, if they know, if they're gonna speculate, they're gonna spec the house, and they know that there's a market for that, then they would be incentivized to build that $210,000 house. But obviously, because they've been building the 300 and 400 and higher, and those are selling because everything is selling, I only question the reasoning why we would up the incentive when we know 20,000 is working today.
But I think you're looking at 2 different markets. Your Region 12 isn't for your average or above person, it's for the person that can't afford to spend that money to build a brand new house.
But our builders can build
My
that.
next question, do we have a builder, or does Region 12 have a contractor or builder that is willing to come in and do this for them?
Region 12 does.
But it wouldn't happen this year, it'll be into next year, isn't that what they told you?
They had talked about possibly doing a couple this year, but I don't want them to take any money or lose money on the project. I want them to break even, so I wouldn't be opposed to them not doing any building this year so that they can get their tax credits and the projects in line so that next year they can build more and then break even on the project.
Well, we still have 5 left at 20,000,
6.
or 6, I'm sorry, yeah. I'm not doing my math right either. I did that 27 years okay though, didn't I?
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is if you go doing that tonight, I think it's gonna be really hard to sell those remaining slots at 20. I mean, unless you only designate it that it has to be through Region 12, period. And I think that that is a slippery slope. A couple other things I read in there that we have to install sidewalks for them. And I thought we got out of the sidewalk business several months ago. We had that discussion.
I was reading through that, it says if it's applicable.
If applicable, which, again, if it's an infill lot, which
What side
again,
of the street you're on.
yeah, it
Some
depends on the
places-
side of the street.
Some places don't have sidewalks.
Yeah. And if we don't find an infill lot for them to build, then what?
We don't have to find the infill lot for them. They take care of that.
So I understand the 27-year thing, but these lots are currently sitting empty. This is where I'm hung up. The lots are currently sitting empty and you're getting a couple $100 of taxes to where if something's built on it, we're gaining something that we never had before.
But you can't guarantee that they'll sell those lots, right?
Correct. So you may never,
So you
this may never even be used, but it's another avenue for housing,
Yeah,
is the way that I'm looking at this.
me too. I guess you gotta hit all levels, you know, when we first came onto this housing thing, I was under the impression we were looking for houses that were $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 for people that couldn't get jobs to come to Carroll. Didn't understand it, there's people that can't get jobs now to come to Carroll that can afford housing in Carroll the way it is. I think we need to try to hit at every level and accommodate everybody. Now, I don't understand the whole Region 12, is this only for Region 12 people to
Yes.
apply for it?
Yes.
Okay.
No. It's Region 12 to do the work.
The work.
Yeah, that,
And after that point, is it just a house that anybody can buy?
yes.
And they get 20. Yeah.
What do you mean?
If a current builder right now wants to build a $200,000 house, they get a $20,000 incentive.
Through our program,
Correct.
Correct.
okay?
But Region 12, yeah, the program with Region 12, that homeowner or, well, Region 12 is kind of the contractor or the builder, so nobody would get a 20,000 and a 30,000.
I understand, yeah, I get
Okay.
that. I get that.
I think that's what everybody thought you were saying.
Well, Tom's question was, is this open to everybody?
It is a question, I
To
just,
purchase or to build?
both.
It would be open to anybody to purchase. If they wanted, actually, if they wanted to make a contract with Region 12 to build, they could probably do that too.
But it'd have to be at income level, I'm assuming, for Region 12?
No income restrictions.
Right.
No,
Region
that-
12 would
Doesn't matter.
make the contract with the builders. They have builders that they use, but they do try and use local builders to do their building.
That's what confused me. Our memo said there are no restriction, anyway, everybody's read it on, income, et cetera. But they want to use the homes,
Homes for Iowa?
Homes for Iowa, and I went on their website, and you do have to qualify. Your income, you do have to, and at the, Homes for Iowa, it talks about, contact your local COG, and, that they will walk you through the process and help you with the checklist on the homes. There are some options people can choose, like the color of the siding, this and that. And then they will also help the home buyer qualify based on the income guidelines. So this is for a different demographic.
Well, that's if they actually buy it through Homes for Iowa. If the
Oh,
COG does, this is different. If the
So-
COG does it, it's a little bit different.
So
So-
they don't, okay, how did they get, okay, this is a complex
We're-
program.
Well, and that's
How
why
did they-
it's nice to let Region 12 handle it, and not us get into the weeds on it.
Yeah, I just was curious then, how did they get the tax credits if it, I was hoping this would actually be workforce housing
Yes.
that, and,
And that's how,
they said the house would not be valued at less than 150, which I think is a good price point. I mean,
Region
I
12
see-
does the project, so they apply
Yeah.
for the tax credits, and then
And then
then they
okay.
take care of it.
so, okay, thanks,
Well, and it won't be valued less than 150.
right.
No.
But the sky's the limit in terms of, what's buildable under at least our agreement. I can't speak to Homes for Iowa or anything like that, but we're not putting a ceiling on it.
Right, okay, that's what confused me, what we had in the memo versus what I found for the Homes for
Right.
Iowa. So the two are mutually exclusive then, okay.
We'd all like to see some workforce priced housing, but again, at the same time, at least the demand right now in terms of the spec builders have all been at a higher price point for that, and the 20,000's been working. So my point is why fix something that's not broken?
So if we went with COG instead of 30,000, 20,000, you'd be okay to add the COG then?
With the 20?
Would be the wash. Then we got two sets out
Yeah,
there.
I'm certainly much better with it. I still want to talk a little bit about sidewalks and who's gonna mow it. And then, they can be rentals, which, again, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, we've got some good landlords around here. Waiving fees, I think that needs to be discussed too. I mean, we don't waive it for our current builders. But again, I want to incentivize, I want to make this thing work, but again, at the same time, I think it flies in the face of what we're doing for our people already. Kind of getting the cart in front of the horse a little bit. That's, you guys vote on it, and I'll let it go at that, but those are my points.
Do we have to discuss with Region 12 shifting from 30 to 20?
It's up to you all. We can.
The memo said recommendations for any changes to Region 12. Those would be my changes. But it's up to you. What is the council's wishes?
I don't know, I don't think we're comparing apples to apples. It's more like an orange and an apple in my head. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but am I seeing it wrong?
I don't know, describe, I know the difference between an orange
Just
and an
saying, you got
apple.
the
but-
20,000 for anybody that wants to build or currently for their lot, wherever it may be,
Mhm.
you know? And that's not Region 12 where they'd have to qualify for it, or am I still
No.
missing the boat on the qualification?
No.
Or we just want,
$20,000
Region 12
has
to
some
build.
stipulations, but not anything that's contained within this agreement. This agreement is outside of what's going on today, Tom. So, yeah, it is an apple and an orange.
okay, then I say we table it and do our research and come back and look at it again, till we can all figure this out, get the right questions
What do you
out.
see as the next step?
Going in to figure out what this is actually about and why it's so different.
To Laverne's point, would you be amenable to going back to Region 12 and say, we're willing to go in agreement with you, but it's gonna be $20,000 and no sidewalks and you mow it?
I think it already says in here that they will maintain the lot and mow.
I think we do.
We do.
We do. Did I read it wrong?
Responsibility
Oh,
of the
no,
city.
you're right, it does, sorry, I read it backwards.
Start to
Sorry.
make me see backwards again.
I wouldn't have a
I
problem
read
with
it at
that.
3:30 this morning, so I know it's crystal clear by now, so. I'd like to take an action step on this tonight, I really would.
Oh, I think we need to talk to COG first. That would be my recommendation,
Okay.
shifting from 30 to 20 and see what that does.
I think it'd also be nice to know if they do have a ceiling as far as,
What are these
no
houses
lower
gonna
than
sell for?
150, but what are they gonna sell at?
I saw what 210,000, I drove by it a couple times this week, and I saw what 210,000 bought on a slab. I couldn't tell you the square footage, call it 1,000 square feet. Third and Court, you know which one? Nice home.
That's a family.
I understand that, but
It's completely different.
yeah, I understand that, and I get that, but it also involves some furnishings, as I understand too. So, rob Peter to pay Paul, we're not talking any furnishings or anything here too. So, and again, if we're talking a $210,000 house and we're giving them 20, that now is a $230,000 house. Did I do the math that time? But yeah, I mean, if we're providing $20,000 incentive, they could go to 210, and then they got a $230,000 house and maybe something to crow about. It's got to meet housing code, you know, and that's pretty understandable, but what's council's wishes? We're going to go back to Region 12? Is that the recommendation?
Could we bring someone from Region 12 here? And then, because then, well, we may have more questions. I mean, I'd rather that we hash it all out, because it is complex, more complex than I thought. And then we could all have our questions answered. I think that, who would be the point person on this? Aaron?
She was here,
Rick?
well,
Rick
or she was just here a couple weeks ago.
Carla Janet.
Carla,
Janet.
yeah.
They would
Yeah.
probably be both of them.
I think that would be good. And because there may be some rules or regulations on when they apply for tax credit, who knows? That they could help us fill in the gaps.
Do you recall how the 30,000 was arrived at? Was that our number? Was that their number? Was that a suggestion? Was it a, pick it out of a hat? How did we arrive at 30,000?
That was their suggestion.
Their suggestion?
That was Region 12's suggestion, because of unknown lot costs and
Okay,
stuff like that.
yeah. Another thing I'd like to learn when we visit with them is to say, all right, we can't find an infill lot, you can't find an infill lot, now what? Do we have to go to the lots that are $50,000 and $60,000? And then what, you know, and then that becomes a $260,000 house? I don't know, but
We don't have the personnel so far to go out and do all that searching, and that's their job, to
Right.
do that.
I'm with you, but I guess what I'm saying is I want to know what the what if is if we can't find something.
Then we get the
So-
money
Get the
back
money
and
back.
we
Okay,
redo
and
the.
then that's,
Yeah.
okay.
Then we
So it's just not going to happen.
look
One of
at
the reasons
another
you
It
work
wouldn't
with,
happen elsewhere.
yeah, one of the reasons you work with the COG is their manpower is to go do that stuff,
Okay.
where we just don't have the staff to
Okay.
do that.
And they've done this in other cities, towns, I can't
Yeah.
remember where, but, well, is your thought, okay, 20,000, I mean, that sounds reasonable to me, but are we still thinking, how many homes then? What's the cap for like what we're gonna give them? Because I still need to understand what they need in order for them to get the tax credit, so we're helping them along. So, are we still looking at now, 10 houses at 20,000?
Well, if you're gonna
Each or
use it,
what?
if you're gonna use the full 300, that's 15 homes instead of 10.
That's why I wonder, are we cutting the number of homes, or are we just cutting the amount per home?
I think if anything, you cut the amount per home and
Correct.
try to up the
Absolutely.
number of homes.
Absolutely.
And go to
Keep it
15?
fair.
Yeah.
Okay,
Keep it fair.
yeah.
Well, let's table this and get them in here. We
Okay.
should probably find out if 20,000 will even work first.
Yeah,
I can do it.
I don't want to waste their time or yours.
Right.
Okay. sounds
Anything else on Region 12? Last call? Okay, that's the end of that one. Okay, we will move to reports D, and that is a vicious animal appeal hearing. I'll turn it over to you, Laura, first.
Actually,
You want me to turn it over to him right away, to Dave?
maybe Dave. we can
Okay,
give this
I just-
refresher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then-
thank you, Mayor.
Just like last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Council has done this before, so I'll be brief as possible. Chief Burke has declared a dog in question a vicious dog in accordance with the city code. The owner of the dog, Mr. Pataki, has appealed
the chief's declaration to you as the city council. Council now needs to conduct the appeal and hear the evidence of all the parties. After the appeal, the council must either affirm or reverse the declaration of Chief Burke. The council must determine if the dog is vicious, and to make that determination, the council must find that the dog attacked a human being without provocation and while at large. Definition of while at large in our code is that the dog was off the premises of the owner and not under control of a competent person. So if the council affirms Chief Burke's decision, the dog must be removed from the city limits. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. The only thing to add is essentially how this process works is what we will do is we will first hear testimony from Chief Burke and the police department, and the testimony to compel the council to affirm the vicious dog ordinance. And then we'll have a chance to have discussion and ask questions at that time. And then after that, we will move over to the owners of the Patakis, and then they'll have an opportunity to present on their behalf, same opportunity for the council to question, and then hopefully we'll render a decision. It's to be understood that Laura will swear everybody in, anybody that's going to testify, and it's not exactly a court of law, but it kind of acts like one. And essentially, this is the jury. So anything else to add? Turn it over to Chief Burke.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hey Brad, can I have swear you in real quick?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On June 1st at 3:36 in the afternoon, we received a call from a passerby that reported that she witnessed a dog attack a child and gave her the address of 803 North Carroll Street. She also indicated that a couple people were outside and grabbed the dog that was on the girl so that she could get escape from the attack. Our officers arrived. Actually, I think they met with the party. She had gone up to the hospital to get evaluated, so they met with her up at the hospital to speak with them and get some pictures, and then also met with the home's owner that evening also. I'm gonna put Laura, I'm gonna give his camera up there. Okay, for reference, the house that's outlined in blue is 803 North Carroll Street. Directly to the right or the east of that is Carroll Street, and across the street would be Sharp's Funeral Home to kind of get you in your locations. 8th Street is to the south of the corner lot there. Everything outside of the blue is the right of way. You see the sidewalks that pass both on the east side and the south side of the house. Kylie, she is here back here for us. I'll have her come up. She is the young lady that was walking on the street that was bit by the dog. And I'll just ask her a few questions to kind of explain what was going on.
Can I have you hold up your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Okay. Kylie, do you recall walking on the street that day?
Yes.
Did you have any animals with you at all? No animals with you. Okay. Which direction were you going when you walked past the property?
I'm not very good with directions, but I was coming from here, going to this side.
Okay. Were you on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Okay. Did you stay on the sidewalk the whole time? Did you see the dogs as you were approaching the property?
Yes.
How many dogs did you see?
3.
Can you describe what they look like, or maybe if you know a breed of what the dog was?
All Rottweilers.
All Rottweilers. Okay. As you were walking on the sidewalk, what happened?
So I got to about here, and I looked over at the other side of the street because I was thinking about crossing so I didn't get attacked by one of the dogs. And then I looked back over to continue walking in my path, and I saw the dog running towards me.
Okay. Was just one, or were all 3 of them running at you?
Well, I only saw one, but after I was bit, the other 2 were right there.
Okay.
As the dog was running at you, did you run? Did you stop? What was your action?
I stopped because I knew that if I ran, it would chase me.
Okay. And then the dog, you said the dog did bite you. Where did it bite you at?
On the back of my left thigh.
Okay. Did you have to go, did you get any stitches or anything when you got bit by the dog? What did you looked at, had a doctor meet with you that night though, is that correct? What did they do for you, do you recall?
They washed it out and gave me some antibiotics.
Okay. I'm gonna put the picture up here of the injuries too. Over time. Okay, these are pictures that were taken by Kylie's mom, Lori, and the one marked 1 on the top left is the day after day of the incident, and it was after they had cleaned the wound out. Number 2 on the top right is before, same time, but before they had cleaned the wound out. There's a picture on the bottom left. Number 3 was on June 19th, and the picture bottom number 4 is the day after the incident. So it just kind of gives you an idea of what you see that occurred to her that day.
Fred, you said number 3 is when?
June 19th, so just a week ago. Do those look like what you recall from the incident? Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. And is everything healed up now? It's been about a week since that last picture. Is it all pretty much healed up? Okay. When the dog bit you, do you recall, so you just stopped on the sidewalk right in front of the house? You never went to the street or anywhere else? Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions for her.
Good. You can sit down.
Thank you, Kylie. I'm gonna have Officer Heller come up too.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Officer Heller. Just kind of run us through your night, who you met with and where you're at, and what kind of information that you received from witnesses.
I was on patrol that day, and like Chief said earlier, it was roughly 3:30, 3:36. Dispatch came over the radio, said that they received a call of a dog bite at 803 North Carroll, that it was attacking a child. So I arrived. When I got there were no dogs out. There was no child present. I got out of the car, and as I started walking towards the residence, Mr. Pataki was sitting on his front porch waiting for me. He came out, introduced himself. We had a conversation. I asked him kind of what had happened. He stated that he had brought his dogs out to go to the bathroom, and next thing he knew, he saw the female dog that he said that they had recently acquired through somebody, started running after that girl. He said he took off after the dog. He was unable to catch it before it got to her. That it didn't come up and caught her on the leg. He stated that he had grabbed the dog and held the dog down. And then somebody else had stopped that was driving by. They kind of helped her clean up her leg, offered her a ride to her friend's house. So after I got Mr. Pataki's information on the dog, the breed, I took photos of, he had current vaccination records for all of his animals. I took photos of them. I headed down to the clinic, and I had just missed her at the clinic. And as I was walking back out to my car, the lady that she was with, they pulled back into the parking lot. So I was able to take a photo of her leg, talk to her. I was very surprised at your behavior, because she was like, yeah, I got bit by a dog. She was very calm about it. She wasn't scared about it. I was really waiting for like a delayed reaction. But she just very nonchalantly, she stated that same thing. She was walking by the house. She saw the dog. She went, gotta hope none of those come at me. And then it happened. So after I got photos from her, basically I found out where her home address was, and I drove up there to speak with her parents, and I had them fill out a release information so that we could get anything we needed from the medical facility that treated her. After that, I then returned back to Mr. Pataki's house, to inform him, because I forgot to tell him that he needed to have his dog quarantined for 10 days, keep it away from anybody else. When he does bring the dogs outside, even to go to the bathroom, whether it's all three of them or just the female that the issue was with, just to remember, keep them leashed so that it doesn't happen again. He was very cordial. He agreed to everything that we talked about. He felt bad that it happened. I left my card with him, let him know if he had any questions or concerns, he could contact us. And I didn't hear anything from him until I saw him when I delivered the letter to him that day at his residence.
Any questions for Officer Heller at all?
Maybe I missed this. Did the dog owner have the dog on a leash or a lead or any tie up or anything? Or was it?
No, he said he brought his dogs out just to go to the bathroom and was gonna bring them back inside. I did ask him if they were leashed, and he said no, he didn't have them on a leash that day.
All three of them aren't on a leash?
That's what he told me.
Okay.
Any other questions for Officer Heller?
How did he know that she was being attacked? Didn't you say he went out and tried to stop
He
it?
stated that he brought his dogs out to go to the restroom. He was with them.
Oh, he was
He
outside,
was with them,
okay.
and he said he looked up and he saw his female started running towards her when that dog saw her on the sidewalk. Said he chased the dog. He wasn't unable to grab the dog in time, and the dog came by, bit her on the leg, and he said he was right there to grab the dog. He held the dog down,
Okay, did he say anything as she did, that she said she saw one dog coming at her, but as soon as that dog bit her, the other two caught up with the first dog?
She even told me when I interviewed her, she said the other two dogs, they came up and they were just looking. He said the same thing, his other two dogs did follow up, but they were just standing there looking. I have interacted with his other two dogs before a traffic stop with his wife. Very well-behaved animals. But he just said he said that those two male dogs weren't involved. They just followed and were standing there watching.
Were they on the sidewalk where she was, or did they stay on the premises? Was only one dog at large?
That I can't answer because I wasn't there when
Well,
that happened.
Maybe.
I'm assuming they stayed in the yard.
Well, somebody, I'd like to know, somebody, if he's,
I mean, the sidewalk goes right
Yeah.
through the yard, so.
I think only one dog bit.
right, one bit, but we're all three off the premises, right? I was just curious, what he was encountering as he tried to stop the dog. Okay, thanks.
Anything else for Officer Heller? Thank you. Let's see, I got two more things here that I'll go through quickly. I did check our calls for service to that residence for any animal complaints that we've had. On May 9th of 2022, there was walk-in traffic to the police department requesting that officers go to 803 North Carroll Street. The complaint was of two dogs that get allowed to go to the bathroom, not leashed. Dogs leave the property, and one of the dogs appears aggressive. We did go up to the house with no answer. A card was left by one of the sergeants. I don't have any follow-up information on that one. On the 13th of January of 2023, the neighbor at 821 North Carroll reported that his son was out walking their dog. The neighbor's dogs came out, and one of them bumped into the son's, and the other dog grabbed the son's dog. The party that was walking the dog did not wish to be involved. They lived in Waterloo and were leaving and did not wish to come back for any additional. So they didn't give us much information on that one. So that was a second call that we did have at that location.
Okay.
So that is all that I have. I will turn it over to the Patakis unless you guys have any questions for me.
Okay. Before we take a next step, I missed something that was very important. Tom, you asked to be recused about this prior to the meeting starting, and I failed to point that out. But Tom has a bit of a conflict of interest here, and so I should have announced that earlier, but it came to me about mid-testimony there, so my apologies. Are there anybody else that want to approach the council on behalf of them affirming the ordinance? Hearing none, we will now ask for the Patakis to come forward and speak on your behalf.
Mr. Mayor,
Jeff?
if I could make one comment, you're not affirming the ordinance, you're affirming the decision to declare the dog vicious.
Correct,
Different animals.
correct. I'm sorry, I'm not using, yeah, still low on the learning curve.
Do we need to stay or can we go?
It's up to you. I mean, I would suggest waiting, but in case there would be any kind of
Follow-up
rebuttal or
question,
something, but, yeah.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm Josh Pataki, so they are under my name, the 3 Rottweilers. It is Kane, Bella, and the youngest now, Escanor.
Let me introduce. I am Allison Botts. I am his girlfriend as of 9 years, so I guess we're together, but, so.
Okay, first of all, I've only had 2 incidents where I've had 2 officers ever come to my house. Never had a card left because I would have called back. One was for my dog being assaulted on my property. A man around 53, I want to say, took a can I use your picture of the?
It's, if you pull that there, it should be up there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I'll put it back.
Okay.
Turn it on in just a moment.
So first call, I had a man walking down here. I had Bella on leash. She was with me. She is usually always on leash. The day that I had her out, I was working on training her off leash. Big mistake. I realize that now. But first call, man attacked my dog in Mylar.
Step off.
The man stepped into my property off of the sidewalk and struck my dog 4 times. Pudence. Officer Pudence was there for that. He took the address. There was not a single scratch on that man's hand. None. But he complained about how his fist hurt because he struck my dog 4 times. My dog barked him down. The man went off his way yelling and hollering at me. I tried to call the cops in and there to settle the situation, but the man took off and called, I think, Officer Pudence and had him meet him down at Ivy. Second time that Bella got her call, well, the first time I had a talk with the man who had supposedly had walked past my house, gotten bitten and all this and that. Bella did come up to him and barked. She likes dogs. She loves animals. She is an animal lover. She had a ferret. I've had cats. They get along.
She gets well with other dogs as well. We have met other people with dogs, and she's very pet friendly and very dog friendly.
She's just
She's
people shy
very
because
people shy.
I got her as a puppy. We were led to believe she needed basic obedience training, and that was farther from the truth, per se. We went to make visits from the person who was giving us the dog, which was, at the time, Allison Hafe, the daughter of the Hafes, before they moved.
And her boyfriend at the time, Blaine.
Dudley, who is now her husband, so
Who
they're
is
the
now her
Dudleys.
husband.
We wanted to make the transition easy, because you don't just go and take a dog from somebody and expect everything to be okay. You know, it takes a little housewarming to warm up, get the dog settled in, make it seamless. Well, when we were there visiting, because we wanted to make it a whole month thing, you know, come in, we visit, we say hi to the dog, let them meet our dogs that are currently at the home. And we saw a lot of signs of like,
Wouldn't say neglect, like she was fed and taken care of, but you could just tell like nobody paid attention to her.
negligence, for sure.
For sure.
Things were chewed up. They had like, I think, at the time, 2 German Shepherds, a Golden Doodle, a
Great Pyrenees,
Great Pyrenees,
and the family corgi were
and a-
all also
and a
in that
pug.
house. And,
Yeah.
we're all also in that house. So we definitely saw the signs that a puppy would need, you know, she needed work with, she needed potty training, she needed, you know, not chewing on things, she needed leash training, all the things you would expect to get with a puppy. And we needed all of those things, and then after we had got her, found out some other things were also going on.
I have 2 people here for character witnesses that would like to speak on behalf of Bella. I have also a written testimony too from another man who couldn't be here because of work. He tried to get it off, just couldn't make it. But I do have written testimony with his date and signed. I don't know how that works, if I just have her come up.
Yes, and we'll need to swear you in.
Yes.
Oh, hey,
Alicia.
JJ has a question here, though,
Okay,
sir.
Yes,
I
ma'am,
have a
sorry.
question.
yes.
When you first came up, you started talking about a dog that was attacked on your yard.
That was
Is that the same dog that we're talking about today?
No, that was my
Okay,
male, the
that's it.
oldest. Yes.
The second thing you said was when you adopted a dog, a puppy, you saw signs of neglect. That's the dog.
That's
that we're
Bella,
talking
the
about
one we're
now.
talking about now, yes.
The one today.
I just wanted to make a difference that when I had two actual officers that had to come talk to me, and we had to file reports,
They were for two
that was two
separate.
separate reasons. One, my dog was attacked, the second, she made the error and hurt Kylie, which I do apologize for.
Yes, we wholeheartedly apologize for that.
Okay, so what, how long have you had the dog?
Just, what is it, a little over a year now?
Yeah.
A little over a year.
When the dog goes outside, how is the dog taken outside?
Usually it's on leash, so I don't know if it was just me. It's been a lot for me.
Great.
But I was doing obedience training with her. I'm trying to
Like the
get her
males
to the
outside
point where
using the bathroom.
it's okay for her to interact with people, you know? And I realized that, maybe I need to take a different approach with her, obviously. But that's beside the point. She hurt someone's daughter. I made a big mistake and no one should have been hurt that day.
No one should have been. It was an error on us as well.
But as a character witness, my landlord, Mr. Clinton, he has seen.
Bella, since the day we brought her home and the progress we have made with her since we've had her. And we love her so much, sorry.
I just have one other question.
Yes.
When the dog bite did happen, Bella was out on the sidewalk?
No, okay, so
Okay, so
she
she
was
was
right
walking here
here.
and we were training over here on the side of the house.
I myself was distracted. I had my roommate who lives below me come down. He wanted to show me something, so he came out. I let myself in negligence get distracted, and that's when it really occurred. I didn't see her walk past, or when she came up, she was about where she said right here, and that was too late in my opinion because I should have seen her before that.
Yes, we should have seen her before that.
So she came from here. I missed the catch because I was standing about right there, and she got to her. I feel like I caused more of the damage in the way I tackled her because I lined back at that dog respectfully.
You laid her out.
And just try to be quick. And I don't know if like the way I did it too, because I knew. So
But Bella also, she's still a puppy. She is not quite 2. We have found also that after all of this has happened and we were talking to people and collecting evidence and stuff, as our character witness will come up and say that there was a lot more going on in the home than what we were led to believe. And if we had known sooner, we would have had the proper training for her as well. However, from this point forward, we are taking everything in our power to make sure this does not happen again. It cannot happen again. For her and for anyone like Kylie, this cannot happen again. And we have taken the steps to do so. We have gotten muzzles, and we've even got pictures of muzzle training with her that we have been doing in her quarantine, and now that she has been taken out of town, she is now staying, okay. I was gonna say, at the moment, she is out at my mother's acreage, and we have been working with her with the muzzle training and leash training and making sure this doesn't happen again. From this point forward too, I mean, she will not leave the house without a muzzle or a leash and her harness.
100%.
100% cannot.
I'm also been talking to John Tharman. There's another K9 X out of Des Moines, and I have words with Kelly Glass, so all 3 different type of dog behavioralists. I asked him what I can do for now until I can get her into a class, because classes run about $3,000. It's not really a problem. I can get it paid for and get her into a class. I don't think she's inherently an evil dog, because I have people I have had over that we have trained, that babysitter when we go and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like it's all control with her because I need
And
my
in the
character
moment,
witnesses.
we just did not have control of her, and that is our fault. We truly love her, and she is a wonderful dog.
I'm gonna go with my first character witness. I'm gonna have Miss Neal and then.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And could you state your name for the record?
Alicia Neal. So Josh Pataki, he is my son. Now this dog that he acquired, Bella, he acquired her, I don't know, she was maybe 6, 7 months old. No, maybe a little older. This dog lived across the street from me at the time when I was renting a house on 211 West Bluff. I watched the people that had her, that they acquired this dog from, smack this dog, kick this dog, hit this dog. It wasn't good. And the man I lived with at the time wrote a statement too about what he would see gone with that dog. I don't necessarily think she's a vicious dog. However, she needs some serious training. She needs to be on a leash. I mean, I don't know what more I can say to that. I've met her. I like her. I'm not a dog person. I have a dog, but I'm not a dog person. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to ask or.
Did you witness anything that day?
I did not. Actually, I did not even know about it until a week later. I was actually at work when it happened. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we've been training her, I've been working on obedience with her and getting her to be more calm, relaxed. I do live on probably one of the busier streets, as you would know, Scharf Funeral Home. I get a ton of faces through there, which I've been trying to use as a benefit for me and for her, because she is on, like, I do leash train her outside. I like to get her used to people walking through, seeing different faces, knowing that not everybody is out to hurt this dog. The best key character witness, honestly, is
Our
Mr.
landlord,
Clinton,
Chad.
because, I mean, if he's seen anybody that's come a long way with her, it's her, because it started off with her not being very friendly, not liking men. It's really what it is. Females, she warms up to on an instant basis. Mr. Clinton.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give today in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? And could you state your full name for the record, please?
Full name?
Your full name.
Chad Clinton. So first I would like to address the first incident with the man that was from Waterloo. Is that right, or out of town, and his dog?
Right.
His dad lives not in this house, but the house north of that. Those two houses, the people live there, have been calling me and contacting me and harassing me about the dog since they moved in there. They have, or they house or feed all the wild cats in the, probably half this town are there, and they don't like the dogs in the neighborhood. You guys can look at my cell phone. I asked them to come over and meet the dogs, feed the dogs, pet them, get to know them, because they were saying they were afraid. They declined. I showed Officer Billinghouse this when I talked to him. And this has been since April 2022, they've been calling me, texting me every time that they come into this open lot. They contact Mrs. Warnemont, who owns the lot, and tell her that the dogs are in there. So there's been a little harassment towards the Patakis. Bella, when she first got there, she was very skittish. I've been petting her, feeding her. She's gotten to know me. She's getting a lot better. The two male dogs, yes, I'm sure they ran over there because as the owner goes to someplace, they're gonna follow him. But I'll bet my life that there's no one's gonna get hurt with those male dogs, because they're the nicest, happiest things that are around. So I know they weren't involved in it and won't be involved in anything like that. Bella needs some more assistance, but she's a good dog. Do you guys want to see the text or anything between the neighbors? Anything else for me?
Any other questions? Oh, that's good. Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Do you have
Okay.
any final questions for us, I guess?
Like I said, we have gotten multiple, have gotten multiple muzzles, right? I have a new trainer's leash. That's what I was through the animal behavioralist. So I got her a different type of chain and everything. I've also was gifted from her parents a shock collar. I'd like to get another one just in case. I'm just asking for me and her to be given a chance to rectify the things we did wrong, because I went about it wrong 100%. I realize that now, and I've lost a ton of sleep this month because I have been in my head reeling about all the things I could have done right.
And reeling of the fact that we didn't honestly know of her condition until, honestly, we talked to, I believe you're a neighbor of our HR lady at work, Angie, yep. And I actually walked into her office crying to make sure that you were okay and not traumatized, because
Because my biggest fear is you not liking dogs, and I love everything about animals. Like,
we just wanted to make sure that you were okay and that you were not hurt by the situation in any more than what the picture showed.
I've been working with my two males forever, so like they are like the plateau where I want my dogs to be. Lovers. They love everybody. I have never had complaints about them. Kane's been a citizen of Carroll for 7+ years. This is where his home is. Okay. Escanor, I added him to the family. Just like him, man. Big lover kisser, and that's what I'm trying to get Bella to. So I understand I have work myself to do, and I'm not going to stop with just me putting in the work. I will send her to an actual class, a reformation class, classes that can actually handle it. The canine unit I'm talking to now, the lady that works there, she actually had a dog that was on his last chance strike policy for Ames, and she had him walking with ISU students down the graduation line. So that's where I'm hoping I can get, because I don't think she's that far off to where she's that scared of people. I think she just needs that little
direction.
extra nudge that I probably am not giving her in the proper way. I mean, that's all I have to say.
Do you have any other questions for us? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hearing none, it's time to render a decision here, and I think testimony on both sides was quite compelling. I was in a position like this just a little over a month ago with another vicious dog hearing, and I see a lot of parallels and similarities to it, but, you know, as it's been said, the council needs to determine whether or not, you know, this is defined as a vicious dog, okay? And what makes it, we understand it's a pet, we understand all that, we also understand someone was injured in this too, so the thing that makes it most difficult about this is for the council has to render a decision is not, you know, just so much whether or not, oh, we're just gonna, you know, take a dog away from you. What's probably most important, and I think that our council will concur with this, is that if we let one slide, we've been all made very publicly aware that that dog bites or has bitten, okay? I shouldn't say bites, has bitten. And then that shifts a little bit of the liability and the onus back on the city. And that's a very precarious position for us to, you know, have to remain in. And then we have to treat, you know, the next case that way appropriately as well. And there needs to be consistency in that fact. So that pretty well summed that up fairly close. Anything else you want to clarify? Close enough? Okay. If there's nothing more to add by anybody, then I will,
Can I just ask a question?
Of course,
Are
yeah,
you
why don't you?
aware, maybe Brad, maybe you should answer this, how many vicious dog complaints or how many of these appeals have we had just recently in the last?
we've done 3. This
Okay.
council's done 3
So in,
in a year and a half.
okay,
And 2 in the last 6 weeks, roughly.
okay.
And one next month.
And 1 next month. And it's summer, you know, they're gonna be out and, you know, but, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Discussion? or a motion to affirm or to reverse would be in order.
I will make the motion to affirm Chief Burke's decision.
Okay. Is there a second to that? JJ? Is that Misty? Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Base? Yes. Bauer?
Yes.
Shrek?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion's approved.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on to the rest of the agenda. We have under committee reports, comments from the mayor. I have none. Comments from the city council?
I kind of want to just touch on what we just had to do here. That just seems like an extreme amount of vicious dog complaints that we're getting. I don't know if you guys can address it in the paper, like what our city code is, reference dogs at large. I don't know if Nate, I mean, you talk about it on
My-
the radio show.
My
or
plan
your-
was to get through tonight to have one of these, 'cause I don't want to muddy the waters, I suppose, before we, with anything public. But yes, the idea is to get some information out, because we've had a large number of animal at large calls recently too. We're picking dogs up and taking them to the vet, so we're getting a lot of those. I think a lot of homeowners have a lot of dogs, and some that have them shouldn't have them, and we're seeing those dogs run loose.
I was a kid, I was attacked.
The animals at large, are they mostly dogs, or is there quite a few cats or other animals in there?
Mostly dogs. Cats are harder to catch. There's wild cats in town that are fairly difficult to catch, but mostly dogs, if not wildlife.
JJ, to your point too, before I sat up here, I would have never imagined the number of them or what could happen, And it is, they're like your family. I have 2 dogs, and I worry about when I take mine or go somewhere with one, like, be devastated to lose it. So,
Right.
I think for
I
the
don't know, I
public to
just
know.
keep thinking too, like some of these areas are high with children, or like this particular area has special needs. Day Center literally right on the other side, like,
Traffic with,
Everyone I've been on council is, the dog is not on a leash.
yes.
Well,
Everyone.
and I am out on the Sauk Rail Trail a lot. And there will be a loose dog and running around, they'll snag like at, my leggings or whatever. And sometimes people do have the remote where they can rein them in. But I will tell you, another thing I've been noticing in my neighborhood, other places, is you have people with their dogs at large running all over. They're being dogs. It's the owners that need to protect their dogs. And they're on their phones, talking, texting, and the dog's running around. And I think it is getting worse from what I've seen.
Well, those that we've had, I have reached out to them and talked to them and said, the best thing you can do for yourself and anybody else in town is to post on it and tell people that I should have had my dog behind a fence or on a leash. Unless somebody else is repeating it or telling the story, it's just gonna keep happening.
You're right. 2 of the 3,
Yeah.
they've blamed themselves and not the dog.
And that's
And-
hard, but
and-
your dog bit.
Right,
And you
right.
never know when a dog is gonna turn.
Yeah.
No,
Can I make an observation?
Yes, you may. There's just enough time.
I did this for about 30 years and we used to joke about, I would go out to visit the dog, and my captain, would always say, how are you gonna determine if it's vicious or not? I said, well, if I come back with a bloody stump, it's a yes, and if I don't, it's not. But one of the things that I've observed as I've watched these hearings and ones that I've been involved in, I've got 3 dogs of my own. And if one were loose, which they never are, but if one of them ran out the door by accident or whatever, and there was a dog being walked down the sidewalk or the street, he would run up to it as fast as he could to sniff its butt and whatever else. I doubt he would attack, but some dogs would attack him. So is he vicious because he's loose? Or is it, you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Right.
It's kind of our code is so black and white that sometimes there's extraneous factors that influence it. The other question is a Chihuahua that goes out and bites a Doberman a vicious dog? By code it is, but are you really worried about a Chihuahua being vicious? You see what I'm saying? That it's kind of we have people in town that assault people, and as soon as they're adjudicated, they get to come back out.
Right.
We don't kick them out of town.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So some of it I get, some of it seems pretty extreme, and I worry, like I think Misty just said, that, you know what, my dogs, I have a fence, they're always on leashes if they're out, but I've had it before too, where somebody opens our front door who doesn't live there, and my dogs run out, but by code, it's presumed to be at the
Right.
owner's allowance, you know? So I get what happens here, but like if somebody came to me and said, you have to remove your dogs, I'm always surprised when people don't bring their dogs to these hearings. Because if somebody told me one of my dogs was vicious, I'd bring him in here and say, here, go show them how vicious you are, because they're just not. But would they go out and maybe get in a fight because they charged at a dog? Yeah, they would.
Yeah, to your point, I got bit by a Yorkie. And you think I was gonna come out in public and say, that's a vicious dog?
Yeah.
No way, not this guy.
But
And I get what, and I like what you
Not
said
me.
too, Mark, once you know publicly that a dog has bitten
Yeah.
somebody. I was listening, the girl behind us said, it didn't even hurt that bad, why are we here?
Uh,
And it's like, because the code.
It could have hurt
It
you.
could have, very much so, absolutely.
The only thing is, if you don't make it black and white, what do you do then?
It
I mean, you
looked
got
like it hurt.
variables like crazy then.
Like it hurt.
Well, and that's what
Right. Tough
I
girl.
used myself as, and I'm a dog guy, I probably know more about dogs than any 6 people in town. I always went out and examined the circumstances, I met the dog, I'm a stranger to all these dogs too. And we used to have a pit bull ordinance, and we'd have people say, that's a pit bull, and it's like, well, no, that's an English bulldog. Well, it looks like a pit bull, no, it doesn't look like a pit bull at all, but people get these notions, so I always went out and visited the dog, met the dog, so forth and so on, examined the circumstances, because like I say, I've seen my dogs, well, when I brought a new puppy home a few months ago, first thing my big dog did was run up and knock it over with his nose. Is he vicious? Nope, he's just trying to figure out why there's a new dog in his house. And like I say, I know what you're saying, Laverne, but it's just so radical in some cases. Like say, if a Chihuahua bites a Doberman, by code it's vicious, but in reality it's laughable.
Anything else? Tom, it's your favorite part of the night.
Second?
Okay, Tom, second, and
My money's
JJ
on the
second.
Yorkie with you, by the way.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Wardenaro.
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Base. Yes. Bauer.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Strick.
Yes.
Thank you.